As I advanced in my chiller career, it didn't take long before you get into screw compressors. I mean, it's one of the most common, especially on air-cooled machines that have any kind of size or tonnage to them. So you really have to get comfortable with what a screw is and how it functions. Now, I want to talk a little bit about discharge superheat for a screw compressor. Discharge superheat is a critical value that tells us on how well things are doing. And one of the things that this is a really tough service call that I ran at one point. My screw compressor kept having super low discharge superheat, actually to the point of icing over. It was crazy. But my suction super, like for a long time, I thought, okay, well, am I flooding back on my suction side? But I wasn't. My suction superheat was floating at around 10 to 12. I wasn't having any issues on the suction side. Everything was right there at the discharge. After quite a bit of troubleshooting, I finally realized that I have an economizer line tied in to the side of the compressor separate from the suction line, but it's all still part of the suction side of it coming into the screw bolts. So what ended up happening was the level sensor failed in the flash tank or the economizer tank on this particular chiller, and there was also some EEVs that had stuck open, and everything was just overfeeding ultimately. And what it did is it literally filled that tank up to the point where I was pulling liquid refrigerant back in through the economizer suction return line, which is crazy. I mean, just the whole concept is never really thought that was a real possibility until I saw it for myself. Anyway, that whole process, what was leading us to the right path was our discharge superheat was telling us that we had no discharge superheat. Matter of fact, we were literally freezing over, but we were good on our suction superheat, and there was a contradiction there. Well, that discharge superheat can be adjudged not only if you have, say, like liquid injection or an economizer like that, or if you're having an electrical issue, you're going to see elevated discharge superheats at your screw compressor. It is a very important value to pay attention to. I personally practice a 20 degree on the low end, and I'm okay if I get up to about 40 degrees for my screws. Anything above 40, I'm going to start getting nervous and asking questions. And it really depends on the particular brand and machine, just how far you're going to push that 40. You know, as soon as I hit 40, I'm not worried, especially if I know of a high load. But if I start seeing 45, 50, and it's just kind of scaling, and even with a high load, just I need to ask questions. Do I have a condenser fan issue? Do I have a coil issue? Do I have a charge issue? What's going on that's causing that? Is my suction superheat doing good? Is that economizer getting fed properly? Because part of keeping that discharge superheat down is that economizer flow has to be taken into account. A lot of screw machines have some form of economizer on them, especially the air cooled. If you don't know what discharge superheat is, it is just the same as suction superheat. It is the extra heat added above discharge saturation. To calculate that, you want to get your discharge temperature about 6 inches down from the outlet of the compressor. Then you're going to take your condenser saturation temperature, subtract the two, that gives you your discharge superheat. Very similar concept to the suction side. I'd highly encourage you to start learning these kind of practices, figuring out how to implement them in your daily troubleshoots, and they become a little more critical to get into the centrifugal side because we don't actually calculate a suction superheat with centrifugals because we run so low of a suction superheat. So our ability to use discharge superheat becomes very, very critical. We'll talk about more of those things in future videos. With that, if you need any more training like this, go to chilleracademy.com. Hopefully I got something on there that'll help you out. Other than that, MTT, make the time for your family, for your spouse, for your kids. I hope you all have a good one.